Hi, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of the What Makes You Different podcast at B-Sides Harrisburg special edition. I'm here with Kev. How you doing today, Kev?
Oh, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. I'm having a lot of fun today at B-Sides Harrisburg. The people are great. I was been at the vendor booths, and the talks have been great. I can't complain. Thanks for having me here.
Basis Con. You may not remember. But that was a fun conference, too. Is this your second time coming to B-Sides Harrisburg, or is this your first?
This is my first time coming to B-Sides Harrisburg.
Yeah, it's grown over the years. The first year was about, I think, 80 or so. Now it's at someone originally or previously, Dave, said it was at 600 members this year, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, so maybe next year we'll hit 1,000. Who knows? But you have your own YouTube channel, which is heavily focused around IT, how to get into CompTIA Plus, A Plus, all that stuff. Can you give a little bit of background about why you started the YouTube channel?
Yeah. So when I first started my first job in IT, I wanted to get into IT, and I worked at restaurants, so I have 12 years of restaurant experience, and I left my job at 16 Handles, which is a frozen yogurt place, and I learned about IT through my veteran buddies. So I'm a huge gamer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, but we use Ventrilo for speaking. It's just like a voice application, and the veterans told me about the CompTIA A Plus. So I studied the A Plus through an actual school, and then I landed my first job in IT, just having the A Plus as a field technician. And while being at the field technician, or while doing that, the school that I was, my teacher was like, you should cover some videos on what you're actually doing your job. And long and behold, like one of my first videos, and you're probably gonna laugh because one of your first videos is I don't like printers. Like, it's a joke with other people in IT. It was how to add a printer on a Mac OS X El Capitan, and how to add add a printer on Windows. So it's how to add a printer on Windows and Mac. And surprisingly, I got a lot of views. I'm not sure why I got a lot of views. And then from there, I just started making other videos, and I took it from there on YouTube.
It's a lot of keyword research. Definitely not. It's kind of just a shot in the dark. You were successful with it, which is great. What would you say is the first thing someone who's trying to break into the field should do?
So for someone that is trying to get into IT, the very important thing that I always tell everyone is try to learn like the basics, the fundamentals. Like, do you know what an operating system is? Do you know what hardware is? Do you know what networking is? Do you know what TCP/IP is? Do you know how things talk to each other? So learning the fundamentals first is like vital, and it's super duper important, because if you don't know about operating systems, you don't know about hardware, you don't know about all this other stuff, you're not going to be able to understand the advanced stuff. So just learning the basics first, and then also trying to figure out what you want to do in IT, because saying that I want to work IT is like saying I want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor do you want to be? So you have to figure out what you want to do.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, there's just a lot of different jobs inside of cybersecurity. You know, we were just speaking before, I believe it was with Aaron. We were talking about how cybersecurity is like a tree. You know, you have the tree trunk, which is cybersecurity, and the tree has branches, which can go to threat hunting, the SOC, pen testing, you name it. But within the pen testing branch, let's say, there's always the sub branches. So wireless hacking or API, web apps, all that stuff. So what would you say would be the best entry level position someone would look to go for?
So for someone that is trying to do cybersecurity, typically we start out in the SOC role, like blue teaming, more like on the defending side. And a lot of these companies will ask for Security Plus. You cannot avoid the Security Plus. But the thing is, for me, is I'm not going to force you to do something if you don't like it. So I am going to recommend that you do like TryHackMe or Hack the Box. Try doing one of the blue team rooms and see if you like it or if you don't like it. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. Maybe you're into like red teaming, for example. So figure out what you like to do first. But typically for cybersecurity, SOC is like the entry level job for cybersecurity.
I think that if I tell people my biggest regret when going into cybersecurity was that I wasn't in the blue team. I didn't start on blue team. I started in red team. So I started in the offensive security side at a small firm and worked my way up to a bigger firm, now a senior. And I kind of missed out the opportunity to learn a lot about bypass techniques within the SOC, getting an understanding of what event codes show up whenever I use a specific kind of tool, I think is invaluable. Now, I don't have that anymore, right? Because I've kind of, I've kind of already passed that point, and I do love what I do. I love doing pen testing. So it's different, I guess, for everyone. But for me, I think my biggest regret was that I wasn't in the blue team to start out. But when it comes to IT, everyone, the first thing people think about is Active Directory. Would you say that's the first thing someone should learn for IT, or is networking or something else more prevalent?
So if you're working in a lot of these jobs for just to say help desk or system admin, you need to know Active Directory. You cannot avoid Active Directory. Just like you just need to know about that. You need to know about group policy. You need to know about NTFS, shared folders, SMBs, stuff like that. You definitely need to know that. But like I said, if you're brand new, you should know about operating systems, hardware, networking. Like learn the basics first, and then you could dive into more advanced topics. Because the thing is, like, I could start going and talking about like Bloodhound or Metasploit, talking about these advanced topics for someone that does not know about red teaming. They'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So if you know the fundamentals first, then you could understand what that person's doing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that when it comes to IT now, do IT professionals use Bloodhound just to scope out their network and see what the map looks like for vulnerabilities?
I mean, it really depends on the company, but yeah, some companies have their internal pen testers. And one of my jobs, I actually had an internal pen tester, and they were running tools. Obviously, we allow them to do that. Obviously, you have to have the company has to allow that. So we ran tools in our organizations, and it was part of the assessment because we had our SOC 2 Type 2 audits, and then we had our ISO 2700 audit. And SOC 2 Type 2, they actually, one of the files that they gave us in Excel was like, oh, does this company do any internal red teaming? And it was like, yes or no. And then I'm like, oh, no, we do internal red teaming. So I had to provide documentation on that for the auditors that were auditing us.
Okay. And, something that I've always been curious about, and I was an information security analyst at a bank, previously. So I know a little bit about this, but I want to hear your opinion about it because you're more technically advanced when it comes to this kind of stuff. A lot of people say, don't use remote desktop or don't use, SSH and stuff like that. So how do you go about communicating with these servers, these desktops, these workstations without opening up, let's say, RDP? Is there a way to do that? Or is it mainly RDP within corporate networks that you do to communicate?
A lot of companies, they use third-party tools and have MFA on and enabled. It really depends on how their organization is set up. In my organization, we remote into machines, but we have MFA enabled. And also when it comes to like, if you're going to do like, I'm not sure, like if you're going to like test a tool or something, we always recommend doing it on Sandbox. So if you could set up like a virtualization virtual box or VMware and set something up on the cloud, like Azure, AWS, I would recommend you do it that way. Obviously, you don't want to mess up your machine. So it's important that you try it somewhere on the cloud.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And do you see more and more clients and companies go toward the cloud version of Active Directory over their on-prem Active Directory?
Yes. 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 So like now we're saying like Active Directory is still there, but like a lot of people are using Intra ID, and Intra ID is on the cloud. So like, you have to know Intra ID now. Like technology is always changing. So obviously you need to know a little bit more than the regular. Like Active Directory is common, but now you need to know Intra ID. That's in the cloud. So
That's just a requirement at this point that you kind of need to know it.
yeah.
And it's a little bit difficult to practice that because of how expensive Entra is. I think it's what, $45 now or something like that a month. I could be wrong, could be more or less. But yeah, how do you go about learning Entra ID and how to secure it?
A lot of these companies have subscriptions. So Microsoft gives you a $200 credit. With the $200 credit, you could probably set up an account on Azure or try to sign up for a subscription. I know Office 365 Enterprise has the ability to have you have Intune. So you can learn Intune, you can learn some of these skills for free for 30 days, and you could cancel your subscription. So,
Right.
just take advantage of the free subscriptions. And obviously, I'll make sure you cancel your subscription because they will charge you an arm and a leg if you don't cancel your subscription.
I did that with one of my accounts by accident. I did the free trial. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then I forgot about it. Then I look at my bank statement. I'm like, oh, I'm paying this now for 2 months. This sucks. I lost $80 on it. But it, yeah, so definitely take advantage of it. I think that one of the biggest things you could do also is, I don't know, does TryHackMe have boxes pertaining to like defending and stuff like that for
Yeah,
active
yeah, they
directory?
do. They do. Yeah, try hack me. Try hack me has that. Definitely they do have the thing is with try hack me is if you don't know anything about hacking, they do have beginner level friendly rooms. So thing is with try hack me is more like, okay, here's a room, hack it. Hack the box is like that. Hack the box gave you rooms where the rooms are a little more complicated and you have to know how to hack it. Even though you have no experience, you have to figure it out. Try hack me is more user friendly. It depends on the room, the difficulty on the room. Some rooms are super hard, and then some rooms are super easy. It really depends on the room.
Yeah, when I first started out, I know that Hack the Box was a nightmare for me. I was trying everything to this was before they just let you sign up. Now they just let you sign up. Originally, you actually had to hack into the website to even use the platform. And I was struggling to do that. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to even, break a box. So anyway, finally figured out how to hack into it, got in, and then I tried an easy box and I thought I was never going to be able to do it. And I went to try Acme, did some rooms on it, thought it was a great experience, went back to Hack the Box and realized the easy boxes were actually easy. I just didn't have a good enough methodology to go about, attacking, the boxes on Hack the Box. So for beginners, would you say that Hack the Box and TryHackMe are really the first step to learning in cybersecurity?
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, you mentioned that. I actually used TryHackMe to get my first job in cybersecurity. So I actually um, worked for a really big company, and I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but I worked at a really big company, and they require you to know red teaming. So I did the
Oh,
red
wow.
team room for TryHackMe. I literally did the whole room. I did everything I can to pass everything, get everything done. I literally went through all the rooms and I went crazy. I went bonkers with TryHackMe to learn that stuff because I was like getting ready for a job interview and I was able to answer half the questions because I did TryHackMe. And also the manager that was interviewing me at the time saw that I had TryHackMe on my resume. So, oh, you're doing the room? Can you tell me more about that? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And then it created a conversation between us. It created a conversation. So it did help me a lot in my first job in cybersecurity.
Yeah, everyone has that 1% marker on their TryHackMe accounts where it's like, yeah, I'm 1%. It's like, yeah, so is like 40,000 other people are 1%. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way to compete also against your friends. You can now add friends and refer friends to TryHackMe and then basically do gamified hacking with them and learn together, which is super, super awesome. It looks like we are running up a little bit on time. Do you have any final thoughts to give to the audience?
For me is right now I'm at B-Sides Harrisburg, so I can tell everyone it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you always want to try to network as much as you can. I'm at B-Sides Harrisburg right now, and there are people here that know who I am, and I've just been hanging out and just talking to people and just networking as much as I can. My advice for someone that's brand new to IT, I recommend you go to a conference event. Doesn't have to be B-Sides, it could be any conference event. Try to talk to people, see who's hiring, talk to hiring managers, bring a copy of your resume, try to network. And I know it's super weird and odd for you to talk because you're not used to that. You have to get out of your shell a little bit. And that's why I always recommend like trying to submit a talk. My mentee submitted a talk at B-Size London and I was there as his mentor. I was his mentor and I had him talk. And a lot of hiring managers there and they asked for a copy of his resume. So like, I recommend going to conference events and trying to network.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing you can do is network. And the biggest thing that you could do to get your name out there is going to conferences and speaking at conferences. That's what I did for my to really grow out my LinkedIn was go to conferences like B-Sides Harrisburg. I did a talk about college student penetration tester using Discord, got a lot of traction, got a ton of following because of it. And it spiraled into some people asking me, hey, can you also speak at our conference? So I got to speak at other people's conferences and it kind of took a snowball effect to, companies started reaching out to me, seeing if I was available to get hired on, which was a fantastic feeling. It was great to finally feel like I've got some form of value to give to people. So definitely do that. Definitely connect with us on LinkedIn. Kev's will be down in the description down below. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It's been a ton of fun, and enjoy the rest of your day in Harrisburg.
Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Take care.